Fiction, Kino. Oh boy. Hello, hello. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. I hope everyone's had a great weekend so far. Hello, hello. What just happened to the... Okay, there we go. That was weird. Hope everyone's doing well. Hi. Let me just fix the music up here. H. Oh, God, I love H. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you very much, Trish. Thank you very much for the 100 bits, Bea. Happy Emu Sunday, may they rule us for another 800 years. I am Emu's strongest soldier. We may have to duel for that title. I think there are a few people who may have to duel for that title. I'll be there. I'll be throwing my hat in the ring. But you've been a fan of Emu for longer than me, so I guess by default I'll cede to you for now. Thank you for the 100 bits, Bea. I hope you had. Excuse me. I hope you've had a great weekend. Thank you, Colossal. Thank you, Colossal, for the 19 months. Thank you so much. Let's just get rid of this. Okay, there we go. And, beautiful. And Mitri, thank you for the 15 months. Thank you so much, my friend. Hope everyone's doing well today. Welcome to the... we've had One Piece discussions before where we didn't read any chapters, but those have been a lot of catch-up and ranking streams and stuff like that. We haven't had a character discussion stream. And this is I thought there's no better place to start than with Emu, who is, in my opinion, the most interesting character in the story right now, going forward. Now, I don't know what the structure of this will be like. I'm going to say hi to everyone in a second. Bo ha 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 ha. Bo ha 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 ha. Thank you very much, Chill, for the... oh, hold on. Let me make sure that I'm... Oh. The VOD might... I don't know if the VOD for this will be saved now. I might have to upload it after. I'm not sure. It should be now. Either way. Thank you, Chill, for the 301 bits. This stream will be amazing. I hope everyone has had amazing weekends, and if not, hopefully this stream will make it better. I completely echo your sentiments. Thank you so much, Chill, for the 301. I hope everyone's had a great weekend. I've had a pretty good one. I did a bunch of recording yesterday, or a little bit of recording yesterday, a bunch of recording on Friday, so my throat is kind of mangled. Like, I talked so much on Friday. So my throat's bothering me a little bit, but we keep moving forward, and it's not that bad. Like, I can stream. Zolmaza, thank you very much for the 24 months, 2 years, let's go. Just got home from a Smash tournament over the weekend. Got 4 wins, 4 losses, but still drowned in pools. The grind continues. Thank you so much, Zolmaza, for the 2 years of support. Thank you very, very much, my friend. I really appreciate it. And best of luck with the ongoing journey. Oh yeah, thank you, Struggler. There we go. Borlogin, thank you for the 22 months. Finally catch another stream, and for a potential future goated character. Yeah, I have a few ideas for the structure of today, but the thing is, I don't know exactly how it'll go because we haven't done one of these before. So we could be done in half an hour. We could be done in 2 hours. I don't know. It kind of depends. I'm gonna say my bit. I'm gonna speculate. I have some notes. I want to do a poll or two about something. But like, a lot of this is dependent on you guys sharing your thoughts as well. If you guys just want to kind of just vibe and listen, it'll be a shorter stream. If you want to, even shorter than usual, if you want to discuss more in depth and have more of a back and forth, lives are changed in this moment. If you want to discuss more in depth and have more of a back and forth, it'll go longer. I think it's kind of dependent on that. But I definitely have some base points, some personal anecdotes that I want to share. And yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you, Boochosh. Sorry, I'll catch up to chat in a second. Thank you, Boochosh, for the 17 months at Tier 3. Thank you so much for those, for those Tier 3s. They are so essential. Always a pleasure making it to the stream. Can't wait to talk about Emu for the next 12 hours straight minimum. There you go. Boochosh is gonna carry us for 12 hours. Listen, I can give you 1 or 2 of those. Okay, let me catch up to chat. Thank you so much again, Boochosh. And welcome, everyone. Welcome in. Hello, Sarah, Trish. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if I can say hi to everyone. I can try. Sarah, Trish, Bea, Naomiria, Colossal, Struggler, Chill, Momos, Declan, Sigan, we doing Lost in Translation thing? We know very little. I don't know what that means. Hello, Sultan. Breadbug, Unlucky Emperor, Javok, Vassarat. Did he watch the Yakuza trailer? Not really. I saw bits of it. So not really. I might watch it tomorrow before we get into Gaiden. Izon, Arwak. Thank you again for the compliments on the shirt, Trish. The back is even better. Hold on. You get the picture, right? Yeah. Sovereign, Green, Happy Sade, Boochosh again, Brimbo, Zolmaza, Power Flare, Ron, how's it going? Hadrock, thoughts on the Robert Downey Jr. news? I'm not a big Marvel MCU fan, so I have no thoughts. I don't really know what's going on with that. Borlogin? Beast, Terravin, Avaya, Interactive, and we're caught up. Beautiful. Good morning, good morning. Yeah, I know they're casting Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. I can guess about what the implications of that. Is he just a totally different character? Is it connected to Iron Man? Like, I don't really know. But people seem very upset about it. I'm not a fan of the MCU. I think it's fine. Different universe. I would prefer him to be unrelated to Iron Man personally. Me too. I don't really know what's going on, so I don't really have any thoughts on it. It has to be connected? I guess. If it's not, then it's just bizarre. But then, they should have, I feel like they should have just let him rest. Today's not movie day. If you ever want to see what's going to go on for the streams going for every week, you can check the Discord. Today we're going to be talking and discussing and theorizing about, we're going to talk about 1121 a bit more, because there are some things that I wanted to revisit a little bit, just touch on. But mostly today's going to be discussing and theorizing and speculating and analyzing Emu. Because despite, if you praise Emu, people on Twitter will clown on you and say that they've been there for very few frames, and that they're hardly in the story. Which, one, that doesn't mean that you can't discuss them and go really in depth and find really interesting things about them. And two, if you judge a character like Emu based on the amount of time they have on screen, rather than their overall impact on the story, like, that's just not a way to experience the story that's conducive to enjoyment, and it's not how Oda wants you to, I think. Hello, Lamp. Congratulations! I hope Dawntrail was great, and congratulations on the submission. Krypton? Hello, Sanji. My favorite MCU character? Probably Iron Man? Stark? Have you been watching any of the Olympics? I've been tapped into Olympic volleyball. First time I've really enjoyed watching sports. I've seen it here and there. I plan to have my TV on in the back for a bunch of stuff over the next couple weeks. Right when I was about to start stream, I saw there was Canada versus Czechia for volleyball. It's one of my favorite events, so I'll definitely be checking it out. But Emu has 900. Excuse me. Thank you very much, Suzerae. Hey, AJ, just loved the streams and also finished up to your Marineford video. I completely agree with the missed opportunity with Smoker. Even now, I wish he was more prevalent. We can hope that he'll be more prevalent in the future. Yeah, that Smoker thing's my one thing with Marineford is like, oh, I wish. Thank you for the 8 months. Thank you very much, Suzerae. Safe Speed, how are you? Me too, Lamp. I can't wait. Tennis? I do like tennis. Oh, that's awesome, Chill. I hope you enjoy. That's what's so exciting. Emu wasn't on screen, but Emu was still there. That's the thing. Some of my favorite characters in this series do as much for the story when they're when they're off screen compared to when they're on. Like, Emu, Morgans, Shanks. Like, one of the best things about One Piece's cast is how much influence they have, indirectly. Joy Boy? Blackbeard too, yeah. Thank you, Bea, for the 196 and the amazing alert. Thank you so much. There's so much to talk about Emu, even though they haven't been in that many chapters. People are really up in arms about them because they think Emu's a Ass pull, last minute final boss. This is a great segue to my first poll, actually. Actually, the 2 polls I was thinking of is a great segue to both of them. Assuming One Piece ends between chapters 1200 and 1300, Emu would have been around for longer than most successful jump manga of the past decade. True. True. Emu's been around for more than 200 chapters. Emu's been around for nearly as long as JJK. Hello, Super Mona Man. I wanted to read Strugglers. Emu has 900 chapters of build-up and characterization throughout the world building. They're one of the richest characters in the series already. People care too much about direct personalities and ignore the rest. Yeah, it's that checklist thing, I think. They need a backstory, they need to be on screen, to be really good and have influence. It's a lot of that, I think. Have I been playing any video games lately? Yes. Yes. I've been... You can check my Twitter interactive or my backlogged for a constant update. But I finished Trails the Third this past week. It was really good. I quite loved it. And I started Trails from Zero. And every week we stream games. So you can check out the Monday streams. Where I'm streaming Like a Dragon Gaiden. That's one thing I really enjoy about Nami as well. All the time they travel between places is where Nami is super important. But we don't see a ton of it, so her impact is felt, if not always seen. Right. I think Nami is without doubt one of the most essential Straw Hats to their adventure. And I think we see it in Drum Island. And just through... Just the way her utility is sort of interacted with throughout the cast. That's one of my favorite things about One Piece, actually, is how characters are implicitly... Their value is implicitly communicated. There would be no journey without Nami. Right? I think a lot of the emotion would be sucked out of Luffy's journey if Shanks didn't have this promise and was doing these minimalistic things in terms of screen time in the background, you know? Thank you, Lamp, for the 18 months with Prime. Thank you very much. You can check the Discord. I've been putting... I put some updates in the Discord with my playthrough of Trails from Zero. I've been putting some updates in Discord with my playthrough of Trails from Zero, but I'm a few hours in. I just finished the prologue, and it's great. It's really great. It could be my favorite so far if it continues this quality and progresses. I think it's awesome. Emu was built up from Chapter 1. We're going to get into it in a sec. I have a bunch of notes. Thank you, Callus, for the 21 months with Prime. Very close to 2 years. Yes, thank you so much. Oh, this is not an episode or movie stream, Jadians, I'm sorry to say. This is a discussion stream about Emu. Butterflies, yes. Why Emu is so obsessed with butterflies. I think it does really interesting things aesthetically. I don't know the personal significance just yet. There's the thematics, which we can talk about as well. What butterflies represent classically, the contrast with the dark and light, the ever-present idea of spreading one's wings metaphorically in One Piece, and how butterflies connects with that, and how Emu, there could be something there. What I'll say about that is that I think that I would be surprised if Emu and Luffy didn't have some very similar traits. When we get Emu fleshed out, I would be surprised if Emu and Luffy don't have very similar traits in one way or another. Will the stream be archived? It's going to be put on YouTube, and the VOD should save, but I'm not sure about that because it wasn't saving at the beginning of stream. If someone could check and see if the VOD's working. I'm not sure. I'll try to put it up. If it doesn't upload immediately, I'll try to put it up after. My thoughts on Star Door 15. Yeah, I talked about that in the Discord as well, but It floored me. It floored me, Callus. That's one of the most shocking things I've seen in a game in a long time. Welcome in, Jadians. The gentle nature of Emu? Yeah, that's one thing it could be, and I think is a very valid interpretation and very possible. I think there's like 5 things to do with butterflies. Okay, so let's do I want to do a quick poll. So this first question, how do I phrase this? How high is Emu's potential for you? Number 1, top 1, very possible. Top 5, top 10, top 20, top 30 to 40. I think that's pretty good. If it's below 40, it's like they could still be good, but like, I don't think it's worth putting in the poll for something like that. So that's my question. My first of 2 questions is what do you think is Emu's ceiling and potential? I think I've been pretty crystal clear about what I think. For me, I think that what I would answer is top 5. I would answer top 5. I think Emu could become one of the best shonen villains or antagonists ever, and a peak favorite of One Piece, which would make them a peak favorite character overall. I think all the tools are there, and it's been built up. Like, it's also not that Emu had a great introduction, and then nothing happened since then. Emu had a great introduction, and has been consistently built upon, minimalistically, but very rich. I don't see Luffy ever being eclipsed for me. However, I'm not going to say it's impossible. But I don't think it's going to happen. Already top 15? Based. Oh, I love how high you have Jinbei, Chill. I feel like Emu will have a similar childlike disposition to Luffy, especially considering how he seems a bit impulsive and quick to anger, but instead of it manifesting in this happy representation of freedom, it manifests in a controlled bitterness, maybe due to not having a Shanks-type mentor figure. That's a great point. So, okay, there's so much to get into, but that's a great point. Emu has been low-key, kinda... I think there's an interesting innocence and naivete and childlike nature to Emu that, because of their incredible feats, I don't think is talked about a lot, that I've seen, at least. However, I think they really are, and I think that's really important. I think it's really important to take note of. Because who else is really childish in this series? Luffy. And I think that shows another similarity in their disposition, and I think that could hint at something of an innocence, or someone whose development and maturation could have been stolen from them in one way or another. Like someone whose development cut short. Think Big Mom, you know? Whose psychology kind of just froze. So the polls say, overwhelmingly, 71% say top 5, 13% say top 10, 12% say top 1's possible, and then 2% say top 20, and 2% say top 30 to 40. So pretty similar to me. I'm more interested in Blackbeard than Emu. Top 10's almost unbreakable. That's fair. That's fair. Mine feels very unbreakable, but Emu is so for me that I think it's very, very possible. That's a good segue into another question I have. Momo parallel, that's interesting. Because I think what we're experiencing is something that is kind of an inverse of Luffy's arc, because he has had an arc. Let me just change his music. Kind of similar to Momo's arc as well. What we're seeing, I think, is a very dark, inverse coming of age, but the thing about it is it's not a linear development. It's a bunch of actions that progress Emu's goals, but I don't think that they're actually properly developing as a person. I think they're stuck. With something that has to do with why the Void Century even exists, Lily, the opposition to Joy Boy and what they stand for, or maybe even predating that. A Stelly or Wapple kind of character. Yeah, I think that they're going to form a really good foil with Luffy in sort of a Baron Omatsuri kind of way. As in sharing traits with Luffy, which I think we can already see some. Like, there is no coincidence that in the same chapter, we have the Lelouch destruction and Luffy's dream. Fiction, Kino. Oh boy. There is no coincidence. Oda did not do that by coincidence. To have Emu destroying Lelouch on a whim, and Luffy talking about his dream. They foil one another directly. A failed version, maybe. In that they share characteristics, very childlike, maybe very aspirational. Maybe Emu had a dream, but had something taken from them in one way or another, experienced tragedy, and so cannot do anything but dwell in despair and impose that despair everywhere else while they live in their little sanctuary. In their sanctuary that I think reflects a part of them. Because I think a part of them, despite them being so desperately dark and this embodiment of evil, it would seem, when you're that diametrically dark, that extremely dark, I think it's impossible to not have a little bit of light in this context, or aspiration. Their way of doing things is completely opposite to what Luffy's dream is. Right, and that's what I'm getting at, because... Also, thank you, Bea. I'll read that in a second. Because, if you think about it, people who are complete opposites, at their core, there is some overlap a lot of the time. Yin and yang, right? You have two people on two extremes, but it kind of loops back on itself, and you can find, I think, fundamental parallels from which they diverge from. In fiction, it's very often the case where people who represent diametrically opposite things, do diametrically opposite things, are so different because they have core similarities that they then completely diverge from in opposite directions. So I don't think that Emu can represent something that is so anti-Luffy without sharing key characteristics. I've already said this in the last subathon, but Oda seems to be really hammering in that Emu is the god of the setting. By having them be named Nerona, Emu in the first place, characters for Nerona and katakana for the kanji for god, Emu and katakana forms kanji for Buddha, and both of those combined together form the kanji for deity. But at the same time, both Godosei and Emu seem to have a demonic motif going for them, and I think that Emu's fruit might be that of the Sea Devil. I haven't even put thought into any potential fruits that they might be doing, like, oh no, might be associated with. That's beyond my Yakuza chat in shambles. That's beyond my, I guess, pay grade as of right now. But again, I think that's going to be highly significant and symbolic. I think there's a lot of potential for not only the Luffy-Emu parallel, but the triangle of Luffy similarities to Blackbeard, which by extension connects Blackbeard to Emu. Right. And that's the next thing. I am going to circle back, because there are some fundamental things and foundational things that I want to say about Emu, but the Luffy-Blackbeard dynamic, I think, is similar in some ways to the Luffy-Emu dynamic, but also totally different in complexion. I think that what we have with Luffy and Blackbeard is two people who are very similar at heart and sort of in some of their ideals, but in other related ideals are totally opposite to one another and totally contrast each other. I still think that Blackbeard is anti-detour. I think that he needs to grasp the horizon, whereas I think that Luffy just embraces the horizon and chases after it without needing to catch it. And I think one of those is much more core to the themes of the series, and the other is sort of antithetical to it. How does Emu fit into that? I don't know. I think we need to learn more. But the point here is that I think there's a similarity in that they have these core similarities and that they diverge. Hello, Gio. I hope you've had a great weekend. I think there's a big possibility Blackbeard and Emu could elevate each other. And which gets me to my next poll. Who is the final villain, or I'll say antagonist, of One Piece? Who will it be? Now, I'll read a couple of those messages in a second while this poll goes up. I'll keep this up for 3 minutes. Or 5 minutes. I'll do 5 minutes. And we have 4 choices. The 4 most popular choices I've heard: Buggy, Emu, Blackbeard, Shanks, other. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that they're all going to be evil, because I don't think Shanks will be. I don't think Blackbeard... I don't think... I think there's a big possibility that none of these characters will be, by my perception... let's not get into morality, actually. But, like, I think that that a good portion of these characters are not even evil. But in terms of what do you think will be the defining, final, antagonistic confrontation in the series? 5 options: Buggy, Emu, Blackbeard, Shanks, other. Because we've talked about this a lot. Luffy's character development arc centers around the theme of maturity. This is evident when comparing his handling of the situations involving Usopp and Sanji. While he engages in a physical altercation with Usopp, he chooses not to do the same with Sanji. That's an interesting way to view it. I think that I view it a little bit differently. I don't think it's saying much about physical versus verbal altercations and what is mature versus what isn't mature. I think rather I guess I don't see a ton of growth between those two in terms of how he handled them. No, I do. I do. It's hard for me to voice this. I totally get what you mean, Interactive. And I think both confrontations show different elements of Luffy's growth, but I think I look at it in a different way of physical versus verbal, or talking versus action. That's funny, Ron. Blackbeard's freedom idea of freedom is oppressive while Luffy's isn't? Yeah. That's definitely a big difference. I've seen many comparisons between the three where Luffy would represent the side of freedom that doesn't trample on others, while Blackbeard's a form of freedom that represents best the negative sides of pirates as they do anything to reach their goal, while Emu represents complete control over the world and people's freedom through oppression. Right. Right. There's sort of a gradient of dominion. and oppression in caging others. Hello, Raph. Welcome in, guys. Okay, how's this poll going? Yeah, Luffy does handle the situations differently. I just think that there's elements of Luffy that were mature from the start. And the way in which he handled... I don't think he's immature, really, in the way that he handled Usopp's conflict during Water 7 and Enies Lobby. I think that there are parts of Luffy that were already mature and just kind of got refined and polished. And I think that's one of them. The way that he says to his Straw Hats, like, if you don't want to be here, then leave. He's done that from the beginning. And I think his problem with Usopp leaving was, one, he loved him and would have missed him. Of course, there was an element of that. But first and foremost to me, he knew that Usopp didn't actually want to go. And that was the main thing. And I think that's a big part of Sanji as well, the Sanji confrontation. I think Blackbeard will succeed where Zebek failed and throw Emu over, therefore be the last adversary. That would be epic as hell. Yeah, that could be done really well. I just recently realized Blackbeard's the only character Luffy listens to carefully, probably because they're both the dreamers but go in different ways. You think so? The only character Luffy listens to carefully? I can think of a few that he listens to carefully. Vivi, just off the top of my head. Well, he doesn't listen to Shanks anymore, but he ultimately did. I think he listens pretty carefully to most of, if not all, the Straw Hats. Rayleigh? Yeah, Rayleigh. So that's interesting. In chat, we have people who say that the Emu confrontation will happen after Blackbeard, like Kim says. And then the previous chat said that Blackbeard will overthrow Emu and be the last adversary. So it's so interesting. It's so up in the air. I think it could go, like I've said constantly, I think it could go multiple ways. But I do have a thought on how it's overall. Oh, for sure, Gio. There's a pretty direct line connection between Blackbeard and Emu. Blackbeard's ship is called the Saber of Zebek. Rocksteady Zebek's goal was unlike any we had heard to be king of the world. Not of the sea, but then he disappeared. Blackbeard's darkness as well, to add to the thematic similarities. That's true. That's very true. I think that there are subtextual elements that could lead to Blackbeard's plans being higher scale, but ultimately I think a big similarity between him and Luffy is that it begins and ends with the One Piece as of right now. Maybe once he gets it, he wants to do more. But we haven't had any of that confirmed in text as far as I know, whereas Emu is about the whole world and dominion over all, which I think is a difference in scale, but like you say, it could be hinting at that. Thank you, Anarchic, for the 9-month resub. Thank you very much for the 9 months with Prime. Hope you had a great weekend. Robin too, yeah. Let's try to get some dark music. This is fine. Buggy being final is funny yet possible at the same time. He was the first. He was the first. That's true. And thank you for the 196 again, Bea. I'm surprised Akainu got omitted in the poll. There was a time in the fandom where he was the second most popular choice for the final boss behind Blackbeard, but nowadays it feels like an afterthought. And I'm fine with that. A lot of it felt like treating Sakazuki as a placeholder for the leader of the world government, which now we know the world government is led by Emu, and Akainu is just the outward face of it. Yeah, to me, I don't think there's a chance that Akainu is the final confrontation, final villain, final antagonist of One Piece. It didn't even enter my mind, to be honest. So it's interesting that, but I can get it. I understand why some might have thought that, and maybe continue to. But to me, I think there's going to be a series of really important confrontations prior to to the final 2 or 3 confrontations, and I think that Akainu will be one of them. Very essential, very important, but not like series defining in how significant it is. Thank you for the 196. Hey, Arblast. Do you subscribe to the idea that Luffy versus Shanks will be in the form of a Davy back fight? Sorry if you answered this earlier, the stream's cutting off. The thing with the Davy back is that... Actually, I'll get back to that, Sultan. I'll answer that in a couple minutes, because I want to say my thoughts after I look at the poll results. This week's Bleach stream was a movie day, so there's no VOD and it's on Patreon. The VOD is available, but not on Twitch, only on Patreon. I'm basing this that Emu will be last regarding Whitebeard's last words. When that treasure will be found, the world government will face a battle like never before. If we're on the race to the One Piece as of right now, after that we'll face that bigger evil of the world government. Yeah. Yep, I align with that. Right, exactly, Trish. That's why I say that I think Blackbeard needs to grasp the horizon, whereas Luffy doesn't really need to. In fact, he prefers not to. He kind of admires and embraces it. What Sanji says is really interesting. Because every time I think, no, Emu feels more final than Blackbeard, but then I think about, like, who's to say that it's wrong, that it feels wrong for Blackbeard to overthrow Emu and then be the final? I think that's slightly less likely, but I think that could be very fitting. Luffy's the sun and both its enemies are the night and sea, Blackbeard and Emu. Since they both feed off one another and use the other to validate their own stances and actions, I could see both of them being the enemy at the same time. Maybe a 3-way war or another alliance? Oh boy. Could you imagine? That would be the greatest war the world's ever seen. Doflamingo? That's interesting. I feel like writing 101 is don't reference Dumbo when Satan's being resurrected. Doflamingo as a final villain is interesting. I mean, to this day, he's my second favorite character in the story, still. I think he's amazing, and I'm sure Oda has a plan for him. But the vibes don't feel... It's just a vibe thing. I don't feel like Doflamingo's a final villain. He feels more of... I think there's a decent chance that Doflamingo fulfills the jester role more now than before. You know? Xenos, a little bit of Xenos, not entirely, but a little bit. Yeah, like I feel like Doflamingo's role going forward he'll become more prominent, but I don't know that he'll be as antagonistic as he was before. I think he's going to take up more of a jester role than before, whereas he always had elements of it. I think he'll do it even more so. So I don't think that he's going to be the final villain, but I wouldn't complain if Oda somehow puts that together. Didn't Oda say something about the end of One Piece being when they find the treasure? The end of One Piece being when they find the treasure. So... I don't know if Oda said that. I don't know. I haven't been in and about Oda's interviews much. But even if he did, I don't know what part that applies to of the discussion. Yeah, I don't know what part of the discussion that applies to. Do you think Emu has achieved whatever their goal and dream they have, or do you think it's out of their reach? I think it's out of their reach. For anyone who came in a bit later, what I started the stream off with is that Emu has very impulsive, naive, or maybe not naive, but very sheltered, impulsive, childlike elements to them. They feel like a character that has not been able to develop past a certain point because of tragedy or loss or darkness or something. And they feel stuck there, kind of like Big Mom. And so I think they may be struggling to reach the frayed ends of an abstract dream that they might have had, maybe pertaining to Lily in some way, but I don't think they'll ever achieve it. I think they're like a bad end of Luffy, you know? I think they have lots of parallels with Luffy, and I think they have lots of divergences and opposites, and I think they're an example of like a bad end. Emu is childish for sure. So I don't. The answer to what Gio says is I don't think they've achieved their dream. I think there's an element of desperation to this. They constantly try to clean up everything, eliminate lights, oppress the entire world. That seems, to me, they seem like in some ways a child who's trying to desperately scramble together something to affirm and validate their identity and existence, but failing by their perception. Their identity and existence by their perception, but failing. Because I think One Piece has always been about inevitability. I think from the beginning, it's been clear that Luffy will win. The light will always win. So Emu strikes me as someone who's lost their dream, who is forlorn for reasons we don't know yet, who yearns for something that is beyond their reach, and who will ultimately fail. I think it's inevitable. And so I find something deeply lamentable about that. Control from fear of pain. Right, yes. This happens a lot. People experience some element of pain or trauma, and they impose that onto others in opposition. Bullies do that, right? I think there's a good chance that Emu yearned for freedom, yearned for a dream, or freedom, or connection, all the things that Luffy yearns for and consistently acts out, but was denied that in some way. And so as a result, attempts to take freedom from everyone else, because loneliness loves company. They cannot stand to be alone, and yet they shelter themselves like this. Look at this beautiful, idyllic surroundings they put themselves in, but there's not a soul there with them. And there's something desolate about that. I think... What do you guys think? Do you think Emu will die or just be defeated? My take on this is that... My initial take is that I feel like Emu has to die. But That's my initial take. I think they need to be put to rest. True now, Miria, yeah. The childlike speech pattern used for Emu is actually supposed to be a more formal pattern, but it was lost in translation. That's interesting. Regardless, I think... I wasn't even thinking about the speech patterns when I was saying that they were childish. Regardless of whether they have childlike speech patterns or more formal speech patterns, that could indicate them the more sheltered aspect of it. That's interesting, though. Bea, thank you for the 101 bits. I talked with Moog about this a couple days ago, but I think that One Piece isn't just a pirate story, because this is a popular argument for Blackbeard being the final villain. To me, it's a story about realizing how evil and fucked up the state of the world and its ruling elites are, and that in order for people to regain their freedom, everything must be returned to zero so that a new dawn can rise on the world. It's a pirate adventure on surface and dystopia in reality. I agree with the sentiment, for sure. I think it is... the way I would say it is, like, kind of similar to Haikyuu. People say that Haikyuu is not about volleyball, it's about life, or something, the more Haikyuu goes on. I instead say that Haikyuu is absolutely about volleyball and life. It started off as being more so about volleyball, and then expanded to more, but it never stopped being about volleyball. That's kind of how I feel about One Piece. I think that it is top and bottom a story about a sort of idealistic pirate story and a dystopia at the same time. I think it's both. Yeah, because pirates represent a lot of the themes. So I agree in sentiment. I guess it's just semantics. Sorry, I'm behind in chat. You know what? Sorry, I'm catching up to chat, so I'm behind. But Struggler says something that I actually agree with about Doflamingo. And that is... my gut reaction to the idea of Doflamingo being this final villain, it feels off to me. Like, obviously, if Oda wants to go that direction, prove me wrong, or, like, prove my gut feeling wrong, and that's great. But I think the beauty of Doflamingo's character is that the jester-esque elements of it, and I don't know, he just doesn't, just the vibe check feels weird to me for him to be a final, ultimate villain. Whereas, like, Blackbeard, he feels like one. He could easily be one. Emu, same deal. Sorry, let me just... if you guys have... Just to finish up the Doflamingo bit. Talking about Doflamingo, it's interesting that he mentioned that he could have gotten the sacred treasure of Marijoa because, depending on the translation, it can refer to something or someone and could be Emu. Right, it is important to note the parallels between Emu's initial scene and Doflamingo's flashback scene, right? I don't think that's a coincidence at all. So that's definitely something that lurks in the back. If he had the Oppa fruit, he could have claimed that treasure, which is an interesting thing to say, as he could have wanted to swap bodies with Emu, which could be what Emu actually is. Someone who stole an immortal body and is hiding now. That's interesting. We talked about Akainu a little bit earlier. I think Akainu is an essential character, and we'll have a hopefully fantastic final confrontation, and my investment in Akainu is the strongest it's ever been. But I don't think he's going to be the final boss, you know? A swapped body is interesting. I'd say why it feels off a little lower. Let's see. I love the fact that he could never reach the top. He always wanted to. He's always had to rely on more powerful and play the jester because of that, and it's an aspect I adore. Right. So, like, the thing with Doflamingo is he's never been able to reach, like, once he was perched up there, he consistently yearned for more. Like, it was never enough. And then Luffy proved to him, through, again, great visual storytelling, that he was never there. He was never there. And I think that someone like... I really like the idea of Doflamingo just never being able to get there. If he becomes... it could work in a way that Doflamingo ends up defying all odds and actually becomes the final villain that Luffy then topples, and there's a sense of tragic inevitability to that, and all that. That could be done well, but it also feels a bit of a retread of Dressrosa. And I actually feel like that direction of the story, not going to make any definitive statements, but it could easily fall into the trap of undercutting both Emu and Blackbeard through doing that. I just struggle to see that being more fulfilling than Emu or Blackbeard. I love the idea of Doflamingo becoming more prominent, but be more of a jester. Could Akainu be defeated by Sabo or Kobe? I think Akainu will have important dynamics with both Sabo and Kobe, and I think Luffy will play a role. I mentioned this in the Discord. Now I can talk in the One Piece section. Isn't that great? That I think that Luffy is Ace's spiritual successor. Sabo is not. In moments he shows that legacy, but it's Luffy. He's the older brother. He is the older brother figure to the new generation below him of Tama, Momo, Bonnie. And he embodies what Ace taught to him in life. Whereas Sabo is much more unhinged. He's got his own stuff going on. I don't think he's a proper bearer of Ace's torch, but he carries forward his legacy and spirit in moments. So I do think that Luffy and Sabo and Kobe, in one way or another, will play a role in Akainu's final confrontation. I think that's very possible, Ron. Because Akainu has been someone who has been frustrated for ages with the way that the world government functions, but is actually interestingly idealistic in a way, because he thinks that if he just persists, he'll be able to reflect his own ideals within it. Whereas Kizaru just gave up, really. He resigned himself to it. So I think an arc where Akainu ends up turning over a new leaf in a certain way could really work. But it has to be a strenuous journey to get there. Also, thank you, Ron, for the 23 months. Thank you very much for almost 2 years. Personally, I think Emu's connection to Joy Boy will inform a lot of their current attitude. Oda's never explored a corruption arc where a good character devolves. I think Joy Boy and him might have been best friends driven apart, and now he's lonely. I think that's very possible too. And shutting out lights, it could have an element of avoidance of that pain. Thank you, Ron. Alice and Gabu, S tier, mind mess. So, will Akainu have a backstory? I kind of don't think he needs one. I would be totally fine if he never had one. I think he's a fully fleshed out character. I don't think he needs it. I feel similarly with him than I did with Kaido. What do you think about the theory that Emu's currently inhabiting Lily's body through the personality swap surgery? This would make the portrait of Lily in Emu's room a self-portrait, which could explain why Oda made sure to hide that portrait's eyes. I think that is something that I haven't heard that in its entirety until this point. Off the jump, my instinct is that fits in a lot of ways. It fits with sort of the tragic desolation that I feel from Emu. I think that fits in terms of the presentation of Emu. The fleeting looks at Vivi or Lily, it just feels like something that could be very possible. It seems like Lily was a love interest, and going from there, why is Emu now interested in Vivi? Maybe she reminds them of Lily, or Vivi has something special about her. Lots to think about. My take is that, at this moment, I think Vivi is just reminiscent. I think Vivi is reminiscent of a connection that is long gone. I think it's a nostalgia and a pain. The upcoming Doflamingo content will be more emotional than just being a jester. I think he'll have to reflect on his life. After thinking about it, his arc won't be central to the grander conflict. It'll be centered more about his psychology and contradictions. It could. It could. It could. The thing is, I love balance in a cast. And I think that Emu, when we get more about Emu, I think it'll be very emotional. And the Straw Hats will get closer to their dreams. That'll be very emotional. There'll be pathos everywhere. And I like characters that are very important. I like when casts have characters that are very important, but not necessarily all the same tone for balance. So, like, that's part of why Hisoka's so great. He's not emotional at all. He's not pathos-driven at all. So I think for balance, in terms of balance in the cast, One Piece needs some unemotional characters, and I think Doflamingo's perfect for that. But it's not like if Oda goes that direction, it won't work. I think it could work beautifully. It's just a cast prioritization thing. I had a thought about Emu and Blackbeard being like Orochi and Kanjiro in a more separated way. Emu's ruling created a world where Teach would grow up with his ideals about freedom, but in the worst kind of way. So maybe Teach will kill Emu and the government. Interesting. He will burn everything to the ground like Kanjiro did and will take Emu with him. Just a thought I had, though I'm aware Luffy versus Emu conflict has to happen. What do you think? I think that could be very interesting. I think for that to work, we need a more personal dynamic between Emu and Blackbeard. But that could happen. It could easily happen. So that's a really cool direction as well. Akainu's backstory part of Dragons. That could be cool. I really don't like the idea that Akainu and the Marines will have some sort of big rebellion. I read the purpose of the Admirals with their more human designs and more nuanced characters to show that even those who are morally gray, if they ultimately stand on the side of evil, and they shouldn't be treated any differently from pure evil characters such as the Gorosei. I can't say I feel strongly one way or another. I think that we already have an element of that with Sengoku. With Sengoku defecting. Also, to an extent, with Aokiji, with Kuzan. I was part of, I'm going to say a big part of Akainu's draw to me is this idealism he has to persist. He just sticks with it. And he just grinds, hoping that it'll ultimately lead to something, that the tides will shift eventually, that he keeps plugging away. And I love that element of his character. So, I don't want that to be undercut. Father in FMAB, that's interesting. Dofi's role from here on and out is going to be reveling in the chaos. He's lost his kingdom, and I think he'll just be there for the thrills and to experience history in the making. That's what feels natural to me, especially with his role since Dressrosa. Since Dressrosa, he has been big chilling, big cackling, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I find that to be most likely. The popular all-blue theory? I don't think so. Oh yeah, I'm sure Emu cared about Lily. I'm quite sure he did. Do you expect Emu to be human? Yes, I do. Not necessarily, like, there's some element of immortality hijinks going on biologically, but in terms of, I guess, Like, I don't think they're a supernatural being at their core. I think they're very human. I think they show very human characteristics, and I think... I feel very strongly that they are human at heart. It's interesting you mention Obito from Naruto. So I'm gonna lightly spoil Naruto. I imagine most people in chat right now have seen or read Naruto, but I actually view. I talked to Recon about this actually. Emu's role in the story really reminds me of Obito's. Before taking off the mask. Now, once you take off the mask, a lot of that gets fleshed out and humanized, and we understand much more. And I think we're going to have the Emu taking off the mask moment, or metaphorically or otherwise, or literally. So it's an interesting comparison.
Fiction, Kino.
Oh
boy.
And I think there could be similarities in their character motives as well. Last chapter final spread rankings? Top 5 rankings. So sorry. A little bit ago someone asked last chapter final spread rankings top 5. I don't know exactly what you mean. If you mean rank the characters, my 5 favorite characters here are Luffy, Shanks, Blackbeard, Buggy, and either Aokiji or Emu? Or Akainu? I finished Naruto months ago, yeah. We finished it in February, March. Thank you for the 100 bits, Super Mono Man. I have so many ideas and thoughts about Emu that this message might be disorganized. I know it doesn't really matter if they're a woman or a man, but I would find it interesting if they were a woman because of how it would continue the whole thing of them being the complete opposite of Luffy within the story. Although, obviously, I think there will be similarities when we learn more about them. I would love Emu being a woman. I don't think it... My take right now is... I don't feel strongly one way or another, but I think it would be really cool. And yeah, that would be another... The Mother Sea? Right. Right. And then there's more to do with what the sea means. Oh my gosh, there's so much there. I think it's more likely that Emu will be a man because the fascistic authoritarianism of a world government is inherently intertwined with patriarchy. But I'll be happy whichever way the story goes. Right, that's true. But then they could do some really interesting inverse things about it. I think there could be some really... They could take that theme and put interesting twists on it as well. So, because I don't really prescribe to the idea that it doesn't matter, because I think it will be significant one way or another to the thematics of the world government. I just don't feel strongly either way, because I think either one could work really well. Thank you, Super Mono Man. About Emu and Lily stuff, I'm pretty convinced that Emu loved Lily romantically, but I don't know if I'd go so far as a love triangle with Joy Boy, because that's what some people jump to immediately. Really? People jump to a love triangle with Joy Boy. Joy Boy, Emu, and Lily. I can't say I thought of that at all. If there was a triangle, I think we might have discussed it before. And then I maybe forgot. But, yeah, interesting. It's not going to be what everyone's assuming, especially if Emu's a woman. I don't think that's it. That's just my knee-jerk reaction is I don't think it's a love triangle with Emu, Lily, and Joy Boy. But we'll see, though. Thank you for the 100 bits. Kuroashi, thank you for the 10-month resub. Here's an idea. Thank you, Dragon Emperor, for the 100 bits. Here's an idea. Emu is Lily and Joy Boy's child, and just like Dofi, Joy Boy caused his wife's death, even though he had good intentions. Then Emu killed their father and started to rule the world in his place. Because Emu wants Vivi because she reminds them of their long-lost mother. Interesting. Interesting. I think the thing that's interesting with that is that if that were the case, in Vivi's ancestry, in the Nefeltari ancestry, will be someone who the Nefeltari ancestry, the Nefeltari line, the family is said to be they're the ultimate god defiers, right? So it'd be interesting that in their line is the god of this world. That's an interesting inverse. One of the 5 elders said that Blackbeard's bloodline is special. Blackbeard's crew recently told one of the 5 elders that their goal was the world. There's some extra significance to that line in the context that we're talking about in the future here. Blackbeard and the world government. Ah, true, yeah. That's very true. That lends credence to the Blackbeard stuff. So earlier we did a poll about who I think, I haven't even seen the results, and this was like half an hour ago. Who do you think is going to be the final villain or antagonist of One Piece? 55% say Emu, 24% say Blackbeard, 9% say other, 7% say Shanks, and of course, I don't mean that Shanks will be evil. I don't mean that at all. That theory goes against every fiber of my being. Shanks is not evil. And Buggy, 5%. My take is that Buggy... And for some reason, this Undertale song reminds me of Emu. Yeah, for people who voted other, please share if you your thoughts about who it could be. Some people mentioned Akainu, some people mentioned Doflamingo. I don't think Buggy's likely to be the final boss, but I think he'll be fearsome by the end. I think he'll be very, very fearsome, and I think his dynamic with Luffy will be really interesting and important, but I don't think he'll be the final boss. My take is that we're gonna have a big... This has always been my theory. Well, not always, but for a while now. We're gonna have a big final confrontation with either Emu or Blackbeard. 51% think Emu is the final properly villainous confrontation, but I only slightly think so. Like, I lean a bit towards Emu, but I think Blackbeard's very possible too. We're gonna have a final confrontation, and then after that, when all is settled, when all that's left is...
Wouldn't you like to know, Weather Boy? Where are your parents?
After that, all that's left will be to... This is the chronology of events I see in my mind. I'm going to be so wrong, but this is just what I see in my mind. They're going to defeat them. All that will be left is to take the One Piece. But in order to do that, Luffy will have to fulfill his promise to Shanks, prove that he's a proper pirate, which he's already proved, but formally. The promise, the hat, and I think they're going to face off in a friendly, adversarial, and yet series-defining confrontation of sorts to prove that Luffy is worthy. And I think that's the reason why Shanks all of a sudden started going after the One Piece immediately after he saw the latest bounty stuff with Luffy. I think he has that in mind. I think that's what he's been looking towards. Beyond towards. And then I think Luffy will win, and I think he'll take the One Piece. But what's really important, like that's just my knee-jerk emotional theory that I have, and if that doesn't happen, I won't be upset, because Oda knows his story better than anyone, by far. But that's just what I had in my mind. Joy Boy being the final antagonist? You say that, but we were talking a lot last week about how Joy Boy... I think Joy Boy might end up kind of interestingly antagonistic in certain ways. Because I think that there's a good chance that, we talked about this with Fiji, that Joy Boy, as Luffy is the modern Joy Boy, he will want to impose certain ideals or methods or goals on Luffy. But Luffy is never down for that. So I don't think that Joy Boy is going to be... I'm not saying that Joy Boy is going to be a huge antagonist, but I do think there's going to be some friction. And I think it'll have a lot to do with Luffy's grappling with what he wants to do in this world and the responsibility he has and how he'll continue to progress forward. There will be wishes and hopes thrust upon him that will desire him to act in a certain way. But he's not going to want to do that. He wanted a specific type of successor, exactly. And I think there's something that Luffy's going to contradict with regards to that. Or I think there could be. Which could bring about some really interesting character work for Luffy. Maybe Mitri. The villain, because in the Void Century, the world government were right all along. I don't think so. I don't think that Oda will go there. I think that would be pretty contradictory to the themes established and a lot of the story established so far. So I don't think that it'll go that far, but I think they'll show some nuance. There's a good chance they show some nuance in that direction. Thank you, Super Monoman, for the 222. I've been thinking about what powers they might have, and since Emu might not have a devil fruit, I wonder if there's some sort of ancient power system we don't know about that they might have. And with how it feels to me that the Godosei have been given something in addition to their devil fruit, because of how different they are, so I'm like, maybe? Also, I think a good question is, how old are they? And what is their personality with with the childlike part of them, if that's what it is. Right. Since I do think that Emu's... I could be wrong, but I've really felt that Emu's tapped into something more. While I said earlier that I think Emu is human at their core, I think they've tapped into some sort of otherworldly essence or power or something. But then again, that other world, like, you gotta think, the devil fruits are reflections of wishes, right? Of hopes and dreams. So, maybe not, because wishes and dreams and hopes are pretty boundless. They don't really have limits.
Fiction, Kino.
Don't really have limits that matter in the context of the story. Man, we've talked about so much, and I still haven't even gotten to all my bullet points that I wanted to talk about with Emu. I have a couple of ideas based on what you said. As for the final antagonist, my bet is Blackbeard. Once the world government falls, it's up to Luffy and Blackbeard to fight in order to decide whose era comes to pass. I love that idea. If Blackbeard's era comes to pass, the following chaos necessitates a new world government to form to create order and peace, repeating the cycle. And as for who Emu is, thoughts on Emu being Joy Boy, having failed, hence the apology, would fit with your Obito stuff earlier. Ooh. Hence the apology. Sorry, which apology are you talking about? I just completely blanked. Thank you for the 100 bits, Time Lord. That's really interesting. Oh, Joy Boy's apology. Okay. The one from Fishman Island. Right. Oh, shit. Yeah, the apology to the Mermaid Princess about a promise unfulfilled. If that is the case, a lot of gaps need to be filled. Emu actually being Joy Boy. Listen, we talked earlier, so for anyone who came in a little later, we talked earlier about how if you have two people who are totally contrasting opposites, like we have with Emu and Luffy, they are very opposite, but yin and yang, right? People who are diametrically opposite from one another, especially characters in fiction, often have overlap in one way or another to foil one another. You can't really have that sort of opposition a lot of the time unless there is common ground from which you diverge in totally opposite ways. Now, what is common ground? What could be some common ground? I think we see it. I think Emu is very childlike, just like Luffy is at times. I think Emu yearns for connection and warmth and dreams and freedom to an extent, and has been unfulfilled with regards to that. To contrast Luffy. So those are overlaps, but what is a huge overlap is, it could be if Emu is somehow a failed Joy Boy, or sorry, is Joy Boy. So no wonder they have this connection, right? No wonder they have Emu continuing this fall from grace and this failure, destroying Lelouch in the same chapter where Luffy continues to ascend and dream. So a lot of work has to be done for a theory like that to feel concrete, but I love the idea. Like, it brings about a lot of potential. That's really cool. That's really cool. The Straw Hat and Mirajoa might have been his or potentially Nika's. Emu's Luffy's mom? Damn. I like it, but I wouldn't bet on it. There's very little I'd bet on at all. But I really like it. Like, I think it's something I haven't thought of before that could be really cool. I haven't seen people talk about this, but what if the Nika fruit corrupted Joy Boy in the same way which led to his downfall? Maybe this will also have something to do with Emu's characterization, depending on what their relationship to Joy Boy was. Well, we're speaking of Nika fruit corrupting Joy Boy, right? Like, I'm just talking about bits of evidence. I'm not saying I think this is definitely what's going to happen. I'm not saying I hold these theories. But if we're talking about things in line with those ideas, if we're talking about the potential of the Nika fruit corrupting Joy Boy, how much have we been talking in recent weeks about the fact that Luffy is not completely in control of his actions, right? He's not. He straight up isn't. So there's a bit of a parallel there, which is interesting. But I don't know how much I agree with the sentiment of that, because I think that's a series of events which could get into, like, the... It's a really interesting thing to think about, but I think if you follow that thread, it gets you to a location, a thematic location that feels... that could potentially feel out of line with the spirit of the story. As of right now, I think we need more info. But I think it's a great idea, because there is definitely... It's really interesting thought food, because there's definitely... The fruit... Luffy is not in total control of his actions. The fruit corrupting. It's an interesting thought, for sure. Of course, thank you, Supermoon Man. Let's do this one. Nika is a hero people dream about, while Joy Boy is someone who ate the fruit of that hero. It does, Trish. Well, now with regards to the idea of heroes, we were talking about this frame, or this panel, or was it? Kobe and Emu in opposition, right? And we were talking before about how peak fiction, Kino, oh boy, natural heroes and forced heroes. Kobe, I think, embodies a lot of the traditional hero, the hero of Eld, the hero you think about in fairy tales and stuff. Like, Kobe's ascent has been very hero-esque. So it's interesting to see him... sorry, Trish. Sorry, Sarah. It's interesting to see him paralleled with Emu, who is like a dark inverse of a hero, who is like an oppressed... Like, if there was canonically a legion from hell, Emu would be their hero, you know? It's Sabo and Emu, then Akainu and Kobe. Oh, but, well, it depends on if you're viewing it symmetrically or respectively, right? 1-1-1, 1-1-1. I think it can be both. A villain, mayhaps, Moog. I think particularly because, like... I don't know, it depends. I think you can view it both ways. But that's just interesting, right? If you use the Joy Boy train of thought. Kobe was the one who led the way to end the Marineford War, while Emu keeps the war alive for hundreds of years. God. Oh my god, this character's so good. So, I agree and stand by Emu probably having some similarities to at least Baron no Matsuri. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Like, Emu strikes me as a bad end for someone like Luffy. In kind of a way Baron no Matsuri kind of is. Emu and Sabo are both nobles. That's interesting. I haven't thought about Emu and Sabo, so it's interesting to look at it both ways. Huh. I'll have to think about that. With the parallels and differences between Luffy and Emu we have already, I can't wait until Oda hones in and focuses on Emu and how everything comes together with Luffy, Emu, Blackbeard, and possibly Shanks. I'm loving all the different thoughts and ideas chat has about Emu and all the different ways their character could go. So many interesting things to think about, and that's not even going to Joy Boy stuff, right? Yeah, like I said at the beginning of the stream, the way this stream could go is I could just say my thoughts, and we could be done in half an hour, or we could have a big back and forth, and you guys could share yours. It's kind of up to you. And it's always more fun when you guys share your thoughts. So thank you for doing so, because it's so interesting. What are your thoughts on... And thank you, Supermoon Man, for the additional 178. Vegapunk spurring every faction into the hunt for the One Piece rather than the usual pirate boom. So that gets in... basically, my overall takeaway from that was this. Where is it? The fate of the world now rests in the hands of the one who finds it. I didn't say, Sultan. I didn't say who I think the silhouette is. I don't know. The fate of the world now rests in the hands of the one who finds the One Piece, right? So, you take this line... Yes, sorry, I did say that, Trish. I think there's a good chance it could be a character we just don't know. And that's very exciting. That's actually my prevailing... Thanks, Trish. I was thinking about past characters, but yeah, that's my prevailing thought. That it's a character we don't know yet. So... We also got this last chapter. The fate of the world now rests... I think it's more exciting to have a new character. I really think it is. The fate of the world now rests in the hands of the one who finds it. So basically what Vegapunk is saying, and I trust his authority here, is that the One Piece has power that is world-shifting. Now, I've said for ages that I don't really care what the One Piece is, because of the way that the story views the thematic integration between what it is, Luffy's journey, the Straw Hat's journey, the sort of horizon theme, the endless horizon theme. I've said tons of times that I don't really care what it is. I now care more. I now care more. Now that I know that it will shift the world, the fate of the world rests in the hands of the one who finds it. Like, it has world-shifting influence. I have to care. I really do. I can't be pretentious and go like, no, I still don't care. It's about the journey. It's about the detours, guys. It doesn't matter. No. The world that I care so much for, that I've devoted almost 2.5 years of my life to reading every week, the fate of it rests in the hands of the one who finds the One Piece. It has this power. I have to care about it. I have to. So my mind has changed. I care about it. I now want to know what it is. It was nice while it lasted for it to be like, for Recon to ask me in a podcast and go, AJ, what do you think is the One Piece? I said, you know what? I just really don't care. And being so enlightened about, it's all about the journey. That's great. That still applies to an extent, but the world depends on the One Piece. So I gotta care. I gotta care now. Now you get why we were mixed when you recommended the idea that Oda doesn't show us the treasure. Well, the thing with that is you guys didn't know this yet. You guys didn't know this yet. This is what changes my mind on it. I guess I'll have to, Raph. I still hold strong to that prior to this stuff.
Oh, boy.
It took 1,100 plus chapters and now you want to find it out. Yup. Yup. Oh, man. So yeah, I care. The idea that Roger was too soon already made us realize that there's something important related to it. That's true. That's true. That's true. The timing aspect. Yeah. God, guys, can you imagine? Imagine. Just think about the week. Kind of, Trish. Imagine the week where the chapter releases where we see the One Piece. Oh my god, the world will not be the same. Lives will be changed literally. Spoilers everywhere. I'm gonna have to hunker down. I need you guys to DM me and be like, AJ, it's happening. Something big is happening. Not gonna say anything specific. Something's happening. Do not look at Twitter. Literally Twitter blackout. Thank you, abilities. Mod chat will be full of ats? Yeah. I'll wake up to 8 ats. Do not go outside. There will be people in the street going, the One Piece is, Shanks' favorite cookie. With little signs and boards. I won't be able to leave my house. Not this song. Pez's pacifier? Oh god. Dropped. Thank you, Bea, for the 100 bits. Do you think that Emu is a creator of devil fruits? Or maybe the first one to eat a devil fruit? If there's a biblical parallel with Emu, Oda could take multiple angles with this, Emu being a god, or the snake, or even Eve that eats it, or maybe even multiple, or all of his choices. I like that idea. The temptation, the punishment. Doflamingo seems to have many parallels with Emu, where in-universe, he probably knows about him and tried to copy him to a T, was the one who distributed and funded the fake devil fruit, so maybe. I really like that idea. I think there are lots of elements to it that fit. I love the forbidden fruit angle to it. I mean, it's literally fruits. That could show the fall from grace, the punishment. And honestly, that sort of keys into, Emu being the original sin. I like that too. And it keys into the idea of this defiance of the gods. Because ultimately, if that is the direction, in a hypothetical world where that is what happens, the core start of all this is gods punishing humans for desiring knowledge, which is something that then reflects upon itself and rhymes with eras going into the present. Gods punishing people for knowledge. Like, that is what Emu is literally doing, right? So that fits very well. That fits scarily well. Like, think about that. It further emphasizes the idea of the hubris of so-called gods. But it's like you'd have to establish a lot of lore for how that happened. But of course, and then Emu affected by that, and then imposes that upon others. So the sea is a reflection of Noah's tale. Yeah, and then oh man, the sin fruit. There's already references in One Piece to the story of Genesis with the treasure tree, right? That's true. Adam and the sun tree Eve, right? We first heard of it in, I don't remember when we first heard of it, but emphasized in Water 7 Enies Lobby. That's a really cool idea, Bea. Thanks for the follows, by the way. Now, other things. I think this is all I wanted to talk about with 1121. And then just something that I always say about Emu that I wanted to start this off with, but we're now more than an hour and a half in, and I haven't. But I just want to say that Emu was essentially what raised the ceiling for me personally for One Piece. I'm not gonna lie. I really felt like I had One Piece pegged. Like, by the time we get to Whole Cake Island, like, Dressrosa, Whole Cake Island, I'm like, okay, the series is going to continue to surprise me with what every arc does. Whole Cake Island was peak, Dressrosa was peak, it's amazing. However, I think I know what to expect from the series generally. I think I know how high it can go for me, generally. And that is what I envisioned it, like roughly 55 to 60 on my top fiction list ceiling. Something like that. Around 60. That's internally what I was thinking. And then I met Emu. And that limit was totally blown out of the water. Yeah, I talked about that in the Recon video. I really felt subconsciously, I don't think I realized it until it happened, but subconsciously I really felt like that's its limit. But Oda just brings about Emu, brings about Wano, and what I think is so important about Emu is that we have these really base human themes that are so widely applicable of dreams and freedom and connection with others, and conquest, and the boundless horizon and all that. But now you add to it something very archetypal, which is just this personification of darkness. Now we have something archetypal and primitive, and something that dates back to the beginning of when stories even existed. Light versus dark, good versus evil. However, you could then connect that with the way that Oda approaches character writing. Oda humanizes everyone in one way or another. I cannot think of a single primary antagonist that has not been properly humanized. And I don't think he's going to buck that trend with Emu. And I think what we're going to find out is that, again, like I said, Emu is very similar to Luffy. So it's a sort of integration of archetypal themes with the ideas of freedom and all the One Piece stuff we had already to make it seem even more grand, expansive, and important as a story. And just Emu's just fucking cool. Emu's so fucking cool. We get that introduction, and I'm like, oh my god, I want to follow this character to hell and back. I want to see where their journey goes. It's so fascinating, it's so thrilling, it's so engaging. Oh yeah, Senor Pink, yeah. And it also, One Piece has always had a mythic element. The narration in Logtown, for example, the idea that it feels like this is a story that is being told retroactively of the greatest hero's journey there's ever been, of the story of Luffy, of the story of this person who was hero, who never claimed to be a hero, but who was a hero to many. this myth, this legend that is Luffy. One Piece has always felt mythical. It's felt like a legend. I said that in my literal first video. It feels, now that I'm reading One Piece, it feels like I'm experiencing a legend. Add to that the fundamental, foundational idea of light and dark through Emu. It makes it even more mythic, even more important and essential. You think Saturn can be humanized? He can be. I don't know if he will be. Right now he's a monster. Right now he's a monster. I'd be totally fine if he wasn't. If he just stayed like this. Oh yeah, humanized doesn't mean redeemed. The thing with Saturn is I think there are lots of human elements. I wouldn't say they're humanized just yet, but there are lots of human elements. Like, the thing is, people might say that Orochi is not humanized. He very much is. He's very humanized. It's just the aspects of the human being ized are very unlikable. It's the unlikable elements of humanity. But what I mean by Emu being humanized is that I think Oda's gonna delve into why they are the way they are. I made that comparison too, Brimbo. Emu and Sauron. Maybe the Sun God is the ultimate devil fruit, but interestingly, it evades the grip of the world's government in contrast to the One Ring that wants to get to Sauron. Could be reverse Sauron, helping create devil fruits but sabotaging Emu's work. I mean, the Nika fruit. We've been saying and thinking that the Nika fruit finds its users, right? Emu being envious. I think Emu being envious is a huge possibility. Emu is the ultimate culmination of the major themes of the story, which is freedom versus oppression, and the fight for liberation, and the importance of fighting for freedom and dream of freedom, and the freedom to pursue your dreams. Emu stands in the way of all of this. Right. And I think the reason Emu stands in the way of all of this, see ya, Gio, is because they had all that taken from them. And need the world to reflect upon them that they are not alone in their misery. And yet, paradoxically, they isolate themselves. This is isolation. This is isolation. That's absolutely isolation. Let me get another picture. This... Hold on. This, excuse the quality. This is isolation. I think that what they yearn for, they undercut for themselves. I like the idea of Emu being Naruto villainesque in the sense of them actively trying to remove their humanity as much as possible because it hurts, but never quite being able to do so. Me too. I don't remember exactly when, but I've said a few times that Emu very much strikes me as a Naruto villain. In that way. Avoidance from pain, very immature in certain ways, an inability to confront that which they try to run from, but yeah, never quite being able to avoid that humanity. Is that from Frozen, Ron? I would not know. And then what else was there? I think everything else, all the rest of my bullet points I've talked about. The archetypal nature, the yearning, the way that I think that Emu, there's a large possibility that Emu yearns for the same things that Luffy does. Oh, one more thing is, this could integrate with the temptation and the forbidden fruit element of it and the original sin element of it, but Emu also strikes me as Um, kind of Luciferian. Kind of Luciferian, kind of cast out. Thank you for the follow. Now, of course, this doesn't mean literally. It could be figuratively. But I really doubt... I think it's clear that their origin has common place with a lot of our protagonistic characters. And I think they were cast out in some way, yearn for that, but are so lonely and hurt and broken that they impose the emptiness they feel themselves to drown the rest of the world. The internal drowning they feel, how suffocated they feel, I think they then take that and impose it everywhere else. To quell this black hole in their soul that is insatiable. True, yeah, exactly, Sanji. Taught Musica. It's not a person or individual, technically, but a personification of negative human emotions opposing Nika's importance. Oh, sorry, my answer about the Shanks-Davy back fight. The short answer is, I could see that happening, but the thing is, I think it needs to be done very specifically, because, correct me if I'm wrong, in the Davy back fights, does it always result in the crew members being taken? Does it always result in that, or can it not? You can take their flag, too. Luffy took the flag. So crew members are flag. Oh, it can be anything. Okay, so I think it could be a Davy back fight. There are many different forms of the Davy back fight. Okay. So I think it could very well be a Davy back fight. However, not one that results in any crew member exchange or flag exchange. Like, that doesn't work at all. But maybe one for which they exchange the hat. Poneglyphs? I think if they... Yeah. They'll exchange something extremely important, but nothing that has to do with the crews or their flags. Maybe Poneglyphs. Maybe somehow the hat. I like the idea of Emu being a former good guy or a major Joy Boy ally in his war against the world that couldn't commit to the fight for liberation and eventually decided to choose the status quo over revolution. Right, yeah. I think it could be a slippery slope sort of thing. It could be one big event, or it could be a slippery slope, a series of events. But I like that too. I saw a theory on YouTube that Shanks will be the 10th Straw Hat, and that the Davy back will be how they win him. Luffy giving the Straw Hat back to Shanks is a reference to the idea of Luffy giving people the Straw Hat to signify them being on the crew. Huh. Don't know how I feel about that. Yeah, I don't either, Trish. I don't know that a crew can handle those two. You know? I kind of like the idea of Shanks just vibing. Just vibing after that. He's secured the path to the new era. He's happy and confident. He's done his part. Luffy, through his leadership and tutelage, has become the promised proper pirate. And now he can just rest. Or he just continues doing the detour thing. But yeah, at best I can see him being part of the Grand Fleet, but I don't know that it fits for him to be on the Straw Hats. 100% Shanks gets killed by Blackbeard. 100%, man. Like, we've talked about that as well. And it could happen. I really am curious about what makes you 100% sure that something so immensely dark is going to happen. Why are you so positive that it's 100%? Because I could see it happen. I don't know. I don't even think it's very... I wouldn't consider it to be as likely as some of the other things we talked about. I could see it happening, but 100%. Like, what makes you think 100%? I imagine a world where wars were two... The mentor has to die? Why? The wars were too brutal, so Emu brings the sea to disconnect nations and avoid conflicts. Oh my god. Listen to this. I imagine a world where wars were too brutal, so Emu brings the sea to disconnect nations and avoid conflicts. Naruto villain. Naruto villain. That is so Naruto. That's crazy. In the best way possible. For anyone who doesn't know, Naruto is one of my favorite stories ever. That shit is... Oh, man. This is... Yeah, Emu is so Naruto. I feel like Blackbeard killing Shanks is an old-school One Piece theory, but because of new info, I think it's less likely. I'm just curious about the certainty. Like I said, anything's on the table, except for Evil Shanks. That shit is not on the table. I don't think it's likely, but it's possible. Who knows? It could happen. I just am really curious about the certainty. Someone mentioned Binks Sake. I need to scroll up to see it, but I want to play it. Didn't Blackbeard give Shanks his scar? The Blackbeard and Shanks have a long history that needs to lead to something big. The mentor has to die, and 100% Shanks get killed by Blackbeard. Anyway, it could happen. I just am a little confused by the certainty. It could happen. No, I can't play this. I decided I can't play this. I can't do it, actually. What if instead Luffy saves Shanks from Blackbeard and that's when he gives him the hat? That could happen too. For dramatic effect. I see. Oh, that's interesting, Struggler. I think there's a 99% chance of Shanks dying in the final saga. I just can't see him and Luffy just chilling after everything's over. Interesting. I can. I really can. Not like chilling, big chilling. They're on recliner chairs and watching sports 24/7, but I really can. Otis said, when we see a pirate with an eye patch, we'll know the story is nearing its end. I can't wait to know if it'll be a new character or one we know losing an eye. Luffy or Blackbeard, maybe. Oh, shit. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Trish needs it. Sorry, I want to scroll up because there was something about Binks Sake. Since family ties are prominent throughout the story, do you think Emu's character will be somehow related to his familial relationships? I think, yes, but I mean familial in a abstract way. I don't necessarily mean, blood. Like the Straw Hats are family. And I think in some way Emu will have had familial connections, though not necessarily blood. Oh, so Iron asked, do you think the thematic core of Binks Sake will have to do with Emu's characterization. I've seen a lot of theories about this idea. Let me look up the Binks Sake lyrics. Binks Sake lyrics. Okay, so here's what I got. Yo ho ho yo ho 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 yo ho ho yo ho 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 yo ho ho yo ho ho ho. Okay, cool. So, okay, let's do this one. Gather up all of the crew. It's time to ship out Binks' brew. I know, isn't that crazy, Trish? It's time to ship out Binks' brew. The wind it blows to where who knows the waves will be our guide. Or across the ocean tide, rays of sunshine far and wide, the birds they sing of cheerful things in circle passing by. Maybe this has something to do with Emu's characterization, but and role, but I rather look at this. Maybe you guys can share if you think there's something that this relates to with regards to Emu. I rather look at this as a response to Emu, because this is all about adventure, the pirate spirit, soaring the seas, embracing the seas, and all that comes with that, including the danger. And essentially, the obstacle that Emu set out is the sea. This is about conquering that. To me. So, I think it relates to Emu, but only through that. Yeah, one day you'll be just bones. Yeah. Leaks come out tomorrow? I'll be safe. I'll be safe, thank you. Joy Boy's real name is Binks, and Sake's story. Could you, could you imagine if there's some insane thing about the origin of this song? I once actually had a dream. Did I tell you guys about my dream? My dream about Binks Sake? It actually related to Emu. It was like new dream lore. It's not very extensive. It was basically that Binks Sake was written by Emu, and they were really idealistic. They were written by Emu, and I don't know why. Noland. I think Noland was just dream bullshit. This is all dream bullshit, but even more dream bullshit. Noland and Emu were chilling, and they wrote Binks Sake together. And it ended up being this sort of ironic, spiritually, tonally contradicting thing, because it talks about embracing the open seas and adventure and all that, and they wrote it before they went out on an adventure, and then Emu suffered immense tragedy and became this, and so the song's now got a layer of sadness to it, or even more layer of sadness to it. That was my dream. Emu is Noland. Definitely Oda-like for this song to be composed by Joy Boy or Emu. It's very Oda-like for... If this song is composed by someone we know, Joy Boy, Emu, whatever, that would be very Oda. That's a very Oda twist. The last One Piece dream you told us was that you had a dream that you didn't like the ending of Wano, and everyone unsubscribed. That did not happen, luckily. That was a nightmare. Some lyrics of Binks Sake and Tot Musica seem to oppose each other. Oh, it's that deeply ingrained, Moog? That's cool. I've never thought about, at least not deeply, about Binks being Joy Boy. Wow. This really has I beg. The theory, Emu being the Umibozu, a black, giant, human-like mythical sea spirit creature, and Joy Boy failed to deliver Binks Sake to them, hence the apology. As a punishment, Emu summons the sea and makes it rise to swallow the worlds. Because the original yokais dealt with... Damn. There's something very... very... grand about that, I guess? Mythical? Which is fitting. Some people think the One Piece is a 800-year-old brewed sake. See, but how does that change the fate of the worlds? How does that change the fate of the world now? When there's nowhere to run, we must find hope. Left forgotten within the light, it glows. This is what Emu needs to know. Emu tries to shut out hope because they don't have hope, but I think they need to realize it again. Do you think Toki, Zunisha, and the Iron Giant were part of Joy Boy's crew? The latter two, yes. Toki, possibly. I should... Like, I've thought about Toki not as much as I should have. The new sake isn't ready yet, true. Maybe it's some damn good sake, maybe. Why Blackbeard kills Shanks? G5 Luffy makes it hard to have serious fights with high stakes. Blackbeard's the only one who can negate G5, so he will likely be used for a big tonal shift in the final saga. Him killing Shanks and maybe making Luffy lose an eye would be perfect start to a tonal shift in between friendly Luffy versus Shanks and goofy Luffy versus Emu. I see. Thank you for explaining. Yeah, it's definitely not something that I've thought of myself. But I guess we shall see. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot to go on with regards to Toki. There's not a ton. I could have missed something, but... but the other two, I pretty much assumed that. That's in my headcanon. Let me just make sure I haven't missed any redeems. I don't think I have. Oh, top 5, I have. Top 5 noses in One Piece. Usopp Kaku, Blackbeard, Buggy, Kobe. I love the Band-Aid. What song do you want them to play when Luffy finds the One Piece? We Are, Memories, or Binks no Sake? Maybe it is Sultan. We just don't know yet, but yeah. What song should they play? I don't think it should be Memories because I think it needs to be its own thing and distinct from Roger finding it. Number 1 instrumental. I guess We Are is the closest, but I'm not even sure I want We Are. Maybe. I guess We Are. Out of those 3, We Are. Should it be a new song? That's what I'm thinking, but... My initial thought is that it should be a new song, but then it's like... But finding the One Piece is about the entire journey up till now, so maybe a new song... Just a 10-minute montage of all the important One Piece songs. Maybe a medley, yeah. To the Grand Line. That's cool. A new version of some old familiar songs that's distinct. I don't think it should be Memories. I think it should be different from Rogers. Every song playing at once. Just a clusterfuck of a song. Thank you, Son Goku, for the gifted sub. Thank you so much. And Chill has asked, say one nice thing about Witch Hat Atelier, which I have started. I have started it. I guess it's not really the paneling, but kind of the paneling. It's like the way that like the panels are used they are used or not used. Like there's the presence or absence of panels and how they flow into one another. So it's kind of paneling and panel flow, but done in a way that really feels storybook and fairy tale-esque. That I really enjoyed in Chapter 1. Yeah, the general page presentation. The one where Rayleigh thinks about Roger and Sabaody? I don't recall that. Am I watching the anime? For Little Witch? Sorry, Little Witch. Witch Hat Atelier? Yeah, I will. Anyways, I think I've gotten through all the general talking points I wanted to with Emu. Yeah, I was like, are we even gonna do an hour of this? And we're 2 hours 10 minutes. This is a regular One Piece stream. So I think I've said all my general thoughts, unless I've forgotten something, in which case I can always say it in the future. So if you guys want any last little bits, feel free to say before we wrap up. The only reason I see them facing off is because Shanks has been after Blackbeard all this time and he plays the role of a guardian of the treasure. He's there to make sure what Vegapunk said doesn't happen, that the person Joy Boy didn't mean to find the One Piece doesn't. So he's there to get there before Blackbeard and secure it for Luffy if necessary. The panel where Vegapunk said incidentally shows both Blackbeard, his island, and Shanks. The only thing with that is I don't think Shanks is the type of person to secure the One Piece for Luffy. So I disagree with that part. I think Shanks is very much like, I'm going to take it for myself. If you beat me, then it's up to Luffy to beat you, that sort of thing, rather than securing it for Luffy. Emu and Lily are going to have a Triple S dynamic calling it now. I see the stocks. Thank you, Sultan. I hope so. And I also hope that it then connects to Vivi. Because obviously Vivi isn't directly related, but some reflection about what that means for Vivi and for her family and all that. And I think Oda will do that. But I want it to have some effect on Vivi. What do I think of a Nami and Emu dynamic? I don't think much of it. Like, there's nothing really there.
Peak fiction,
so,
Kino.
Unless you have any specific ideas that I could comment on, I don't really have any thoughts about it. Do you think Shanks is going to die before Luffy can give the hat back? like I said before, I don't. I think that's unlikely. Not impossible, but unlikely. Do I think Shanks is evil? Yep. Fuck that rat. Mihawk Goat. And then Nami is Emu's relative. Oh. I knew nothing of this. Emu and Luffy dynamic by the end will change lives. I'm gonna say this. You know how during Wano, I'm like, Kaido and Luffy have to have like an amazing dynamic. If Momo and Luffy don't have one of the best dynamics in the series by the end of Wano, I'm gonna be disappointed. If I already think that Luffy and Emu have an S tier dynamic. Oh no. Oh no, this song. If they don't have at least a close to triple S dynamic by the end of the series, if it isn't like top 5 or 6, I will be very disappointed. I really think it has to be right up there. People just want Nami to be relevant by being a royal or celestial dragon? I see. Yeah, that feels very weird to me, that theory. Nami connecting with Emu feels strange to me. Oh, Emu in the Sea, Navigator? That's interesting. That's interesting. I like that, Josiah. Sorry, this song's loud. I like the idea of Nami being the Navigator of the Sea. Okay, there's something there. Thank you, Son Goku, for the 100 bits. What do you think about how Emu Lily parallels with Luffy Vivi? I don't think it does. I don't think there's much at all to draw parallels between, outside of there being clearly strong affection, a strong connection. But as of right now, I don't think there's much there at all. So I don't think there's much to comment on there. But it could happen. Like, I think that's a dynamic that is pretty ripe for if Oda wants to go there. But I don't think we have anything yet. No, yeah, I got you, Bea. Do you think Luffy Emu will be a 1v1 or will all his friends help him? I don't even know for certain that they're gonna fight. I think they probably will. But like, that's so far off. Like, by fight I mean like fist to fist. Does it seem weird to anyone for Emu to be fist fighting Luffy? Like, just throwing down? Emu fighting anyone feels strange to me. I guess they're gonna have to, but it feels strange. Yeah, as they are now, obviously that'll change. To answer your question, Derpobler, I have no idea. Who the hidden man in this panel is? I think this is a character we have not met. Yet. I feel the same way about the 5 elders, but now we have them fighting too. Yeah, so there has to be some sort of change, like some sort of shift. Yeah. Emu sees themselves as the ultimate king and god of this world. They hid their existence all this time. Why would they descend or allow someone to there and procreate? Yeah, it strikes me as strange. He should have a power similar to the Godosei? Yeah, I'm not talking about mechanically. I'm talking more so about their presence in the story. The energy and vibes around them right now. It's strange to think of them fighting and throwing down. However, uh, like we said, the 5 elders, we couldn't see them fighting, but now they are, and it makes total sense, and it's awesome. So we just need a shift, I guess. Hey, Taka. Thoughts on Blackbeard being the blood-direct descendant of Joy Boy, as in real stars and suns eventually can become black holes over time? Meaning potentially Joy Boy's unending, unchecked freedom has massive consequences down the line. I like the poetry and symbolism there. I don't know that I associate Emu with massive, unending, unchecked freedom. I look at Emu, I look at Joy Boy as did I say Emu? I meant Blackbeard. I look at Joy Boy as a specific type of freedom rather than unchecked freedom. No, I mean, I could see it. Maybe there's a situation in which... Joy Boy had this unchecked, unbridled freedom that led to this cascading consequence that became Blackbeard. Symbolic, poetic, the ways you said. And because of that, Joy Boy tries to impose upon Luffy a certain way that he has to live to prevent that from happening again, which Luffy could then be not receptive to in the way we talked about before. I could see something like that happening, but those are very vague concepts. So I don't have anything solid, but I love what you say there. Real stars and suns eventually become black holes over time. That's really cool. I love the symbolism with that. Blackbeard is more the night than a black hole to me, but sure, why not? Yeah, it's like, it's hard for me to commit to any of these and say they're concrete, but I like the ideas. And Blackbeard, I do view Blackbeard more as the night, Emu as the sea, right? AJ, you know the tradition, any new mystery character is actually Luffy's mom? True. Any stocks in Shanks' evil twin theories? I don't have any stocks on that. I don't have any thoughts on that one way or another. It's not something I'm thinking about. I know! We've done 1121 chapters, and there is so much more story to tell, so much to resolve. All the things we talked about today are things that need to be resolved in the story. All of them. And then we haven't even gotten to the fact that we are going to have goodbyes for each Straw Hat. All of them are going to have their own sequence where they get to their dream. By sequence, it could be a sequence of chapters in a row or a more abstract sequence, but whatever. They're all going to get the spotlight. We need to conclude arcs for characters like Smoker, Dragon needs to bloom properly, all the, Kizaru, Akainu, the previous generation, we have to really see what goes on with Kaido and Big Mom. Doflamingo's lurking in the background. What else? Elbaf? The Godosei are sticking around, obviously. But it's ending in 2 years. This will be wrapped up by chapter 1200. Oh, I do love that. When you see Blackbeard as the night, people's dreams will never end, takes a deliciously twisted sense. Meaning? Yeah. And the fact that he never dreams. To contrast that. No problem, Bea. Enjoy. What do you think would be necessary for Frankie to be redeemed in your view until the end of the story? Frankie doesn't need a redemption. Do you mean for Frankie to become a good, like, for me to be satisfied with Frankie's writing? Is that what you mean? Because I've been critical of it? That's what I meant? Okay, so what do you think would be necessary for Frankie to be redeemed in your view? Nothing specifically. I'm not a writer, I don't know the solutions, but what I do know is that Frankie's been very unsatisfying as a character since the time skip. I think really it just comes down to giving him more focus, yeah. Just give him more focus. Carry forward the theme specific and exclusive to him, and give him progression, give him really meaningful moments, like a lot of the other Straw Hats have gotten. That he just hasn't. In a broad sense, that's all really. If we think about the worlds of One Piece in terms of celestial bodies, Luffy being the sun, Emu represents the earth, the Gorosei is satellites, but also planets and the ancient weapons, the planets most far away from the sun. Blackbeard's either the moon, unaware of a dawn, or a sort of black sun, which would be a black hole absorbing everything. If night is the absence of sun, Blackbeard devours light itself. I agree. If we're doing celestial bodies in that way... Sorry, I was trying to visualize what you were saying. Emu is much more the night... Especially if you coalesce that with what they do with the sea. And Blackbeard is... Sorry. Did I say the night? I meant the moon. And Blackbeard is more of a black hole in that sense. The moon is something positive? Not necessarily, not always. Prior to 20 chapters ago, we would have said the sea is something positive. Or I'm exaggerating, but everything has positives and negatives. Wano gives us the beauty of dreams, and Egghead tells us why it's important to keep your feet on the ground when dreaming. The moon is not something inherently positive, always. It can be, and it is, in a lot of ways, but it can also be something very threatening. This is just a symbolic illusion anyway. Thank you, Josiah. Do you think Oda will take a tragic route with Blackbeard not being able to physically dream, or is it going to go a more darker, twisted route? I think Emu, if I had to guess, I think Emu's going to be very tragic and pathos-driven. I think Blackbeard's going to be a bit darker. Not to say there'll be no emotions, but yeah. Anyways, guys, what then is the dark side of the moon? Whatever the hell happened to Emu in the past. The means of the sea being a detriment or fulfilling based on your perspective, the perspective of a navigator or tyrannical figure. That's what I talked about a few weeks ago with Emu representing sea, and how Luffy then wields the sea to his will, which I really love with regards to their dynamic. But Nami's key to that. Luffy the sun, Momonosuke the moon, Black Hole, Blackbeard, Earth is Emu, Vivi soil. Damn. I see Blackbeard as having a super tragic backstory. The only reason I say that is because I think Emu will have a tragic backstory. And I don't think it's impossible that Blackbeard doesn't. In fact, I think that's very possible. But I'm just assuming that Oda's not going to do the same complexion on both characters. Which is why I say that, like I said, I don't think there's Blackbeard's going to be bereft of emotions. I think there could be strong emotions there, but that Emu will lean more on that. But hey, maybe Oda wants to do both of them emotional. I don't know. There's a crescent moon behind Blackbeard. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really paying much attention to celestial body symbolism. I've never really paid much attention to it. I'm just going off of what you guys are saying. I think the material is ripe for Blackbeard to have really great backstory, really great emotional backstory. It's just, if I'm going by which character of the two I think will have a tragic backstory, who's more likely, I would say Emu. But both could. Both easily could. And I would love it. The thing with Oda is, he, especially post-time skip, he really varies up the villain design. Sorry, the antagonist design in terms of writing. Like, Hody Jones is so different from Doflamingo, who is so different from Katakuri, who is so different from Kaido and Orochi. He really varies things up. So I'm assuming a different approach between the two. But maybe not. I don't know. I started paying more attention to celestial body symbolism ever since the Godosei were revealed to be named after them. You guys are gonna have to help me out as the chapters come out. You guys are gonna have to point that out to me, because I have no clue. Akainu? Akainu, yeah. The thing with Akainu is, like I said, I don't think he needs a backstory, but if he gets one, it could be really good. It could be really good. It's peak, but it's not just celestial bodies. I think that it's more weather core, hence the sky and the bodies we observe in it being important. Clouds are important as an extension of the sea, or the wind is important as a rebellion against oppression. Okay, what do the clouds represent? so how does that apply to One Piece? Blackbeard's the more human emu. Clouds are a cage. Like I kind of alluded to it earlier, a connection between Akainu and and Kaido with regards to the backstory. I could see a similarity there. Clouds are a cage. I think that the narrative supports the moon being a different sort of symbol. Rulers are the moons because they share the sunlight with people, whether it's positive or negative. So clouds are as an extension of the sea, Emu. They cage. The wind is as important as a rebellion against oppression. Wind, okay. Okay. I think people put a lot of stock in Oda drawing a crescent moon here. Right. Thanks, Trish. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. He thinks he's Kubo. My final take on Akainu is that he dies drowning, but his magma forms the base for a new Marine HQ, founded on what came in the past but not entirely representative of it. Founded on the hopes that he saw in there that never came to fruition, but then provide the foundation for the new thing. I love this shit, Time Lord. I think it's... like, that's so poetic. These ideas are so damn cool. Do I think they're likely to happen just because they're so ultra-specific? It's probably unlikely. But I love that shit. It's really good. I love these takes. That could be really cool. Like, that's very symbolic and very telling of who Akainu is. He dies drowning, but his magma forms the base for the new Marine HQ. Like, that is so symbolic. Something like that would elevate Akainu a lot for me. I love that. I think it represents more the fact that he doesn't sleep ever. Right, but, something can have two meanings, right? It can have multiple meanings. Doflamingo uses clouds to fly, for example, as he uses the oppressive system already in place to elevate himself. Kaido creates clouds because he's strong enough to create his own system and is free from the already present one. Big Mom creates clouds to fly on too using her subject souls. Okay, I see. Thanks for the example, Struggler. That makes it clearer. That makes more sense. I buy more into the weather than just celestial bodies, I guess, with that context. Okay, with that said, guys, I think we're gonna end it off here. I need to soothe my throat. I am so... My throat is destroyed. Thank you guys for partaking. I really, really enjoyed. That was tons of fun. And there will be tons of theorizing down the line. Just, this was the ones with a lot of things connected to Emu that I wanted to talk about. And that was tons of fun. Lots of cool theories, lots of speculation, lots of analysis, and about one of the greatest hooks, in my opinion, the greatest hook going forward. So thank you for sharing your thoughts, and I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed. This will be going on YouTube. The VOD should be there for Twitch. We'll see what happens. Sure, Struggler. Feel free to tag me in it. To put it somewhere and then tag me in it, or DM. I would be interested. But yeah, hopefully I'll do the stream time for Sunday, properly. But this week coming up, we will have Gaiden tomorrow, Bleach Wednesday, and One Piece Sunday, the new chapter. I think we're getting close to the next One Piece movie day, by the way. We are at 76%. Actually, probably more. More than that now, actually. So, that's kind of on the horizon. Any other characters you're thinking of focusing on? So in the future, I'd like to do this for Blackbeard. I would like to do this for Fishman Island as an arc. I want to do a Skypiea sort of reread thing. I want to do it for... I would have wanted to do it for Kaido if I didn't make a video, but I did a Kaido one. So yeah, Blackbeard, Fishman Island as an arc, the Skypiea stuff, Straw Hats discussion stream, maybe a Straw Hats in general, but I'll think about that. There was another one. Oh, Buggy. Those are the more medium ones. Four ideas. Ready character dynamic, Luffy Shanks, Triple S. So yeah, those are the more immediate ideas, specifically for characters, Buggy and Blackbeard. And then Fishman Island and Skypiea. Thank you, Darkanine. Thank you, Darkanine, for the 25 months with Prime right before the end. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'll see some of you guys tomorrow for Gaiden, the amazing Like a Dragon Gaiden, which I'm enjoying so much. We'll continue that tomorrow. Bleach Wednesday. Sunday, we'll read the new chapter. And I hope it's a masterpiece. Thank you guys so much. Join the Discord if you haven't already. Have a great end to your weekend. Thank you so much. This was great. So much fun. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. I can't wait, Sarah. Yeah, sorry, Dark Knight. The VOD should be there. We'll see. Hopefully it is. See you guys.